Alright, so here we're looking at page 119 on the combinations section 15A. I'm going to do one that's just slightly different. I've just changed this number. The process will still be the same so that you can solve it using the same technique. So first of all, I'm going to deal with the left hand side here. This says n choose 2. Remember your combination formula says that n choose r is n factorial over r factorial times n minus r factorial, right? So now this is n and 2 is r. So when I put this into that formula, well, my n stays the same, so this is still going to be n factorial. My r is 2, so this is going to be a 2 factorial right here. And in brackets here it's n minus r, so it's going to be this minus that. So n minus 2 factorial. Okay? So I've kept the right hand side the same, just changed the left hand side using the formula. Now, from the previous unit, you'll remember dealing with factorial expressions that look like this. So to handle that, you take the bigger number and expand it until you reach the smaller number. In this case, we've got n and n minus 2. N is the bigger number, so I expand that. So n factorial starts out with n. Then my next term is 1 less than n. Well, 1 less than n is n minus 1. My term after that is 1 less than n minus 1, so it's n minus 1, which is really n minus 2. So my next term is n minus 2, which is what I have down here. So I'm actually going to stop here, put my factorial sign, then write the rest of the equation here. And I can see now that the n minus 2 factorials cancel out, leaving me with n times n minus 1 on top over, this is 2 factorial right here. Well, 2 factorial is just 2 times 1, which is really just 2. Okay? So I've got n times n minus 1 over 2 equals 6. So what I can do is get rid of this 2 right here. It's division by 2, so I could multiply both sides by 2 to get rid of that 2, leaving me with n times n minus 1 equals 6 times 2, which is 12. Okay? Distributing this now, so n times n is n squared, n times negative 1 is negative n, and equal to 12. So now I want to set up a quadratic equation. Quadratic equations look like this, where everything is on one side of the equation. So I just need to get rid of this 12 on this side, so it's positive, so I can get rid of it by subtracting 12. Gets rid of it there, leaving me with 0 on this side. Subtract 12 on that side then gives me n squared minus n minus 12. Okay? Now this, I just solved this quadratic using whatever technique you like to use to solve quadratics. You could factor if you're comfortable factoring this, or you could use your quadratic formula. Most people just tend to go with the quadratic formula, so let's run through that really quickly here. So the quadratic formula will look like this. Negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a. So now, my a coefficient right here is 1. My b coefficient right here is negative 1. And my c is negative 12. So a is 1, b is negative 1, c is negative 12. Alright, so now I'm just going to work through the quadratic formula. So negative b, well, b is negative 1, so it's actually negative of negative 1, plus or minus the square root of b squared, so this is negative 1 squared minus 4. A is 1, and then c is negative 12, all over 2 times a, which is 2 times 1. Okay? Continuing now, so negative of negative 1 right here. Well, that's really just a positive 1, plus or minus. Negative 1 squared is 1, because it's negative 1 times negative 1, which is a positive 1. Minus 4 times 1. 4 times 1 is 4. And then, remember, this is really a negative 4 here. So negative 4 times 1 is a negative 4. Then negative 4 times a negative 12 is a positive 48. So it's positive 48. all over 2 times 1, which is 2. Okay, can get rid of that now. Alright, so I've got 1 plus or minus the square root. 1 plus 48 is 49 over 2. So my first answer is going to be 1 plus the square root of 49 is just 7 right here, right? So my first answer is 1 plus 7 over 2. My second answer is going to be, instead of plussing those together, it's 1 minus 7 over 2. So 1 plus 7 gives me 8, so 8 over 2, which is 4, is my first answer. Second answer, 1 minus 7 is negative 6 over 2, which is a negative 3. Now, since you're dealing with factorials, you can't take the factorial of a negative number. So when I go back to this expression here, this thing here can't be negative, and neither can this right here. So in this case, if n is negative 3, I have to take the factorial of a negative number, which I can't. So this doesn't work for my equation. It's unacceptable in this case. So my only answer would be 4, because if I substitute 4 in right here, 4 factorial I can evaluate, and here 4 minus 2 is 2, a positive number, so I can still evaluate that. So in this case, my only answer is 4.